I was giving you time to get ready.
I wasn't gonna sit there and record just you looking at your phone for.
You know,
I'm ready.
this
I'm
right now
ready.
this show has
We're
3
recording.
people on.
This is. I want you to know that whatever you're doing right now is the message you're sending to our YouTube audience. And if it's unprofessional, then congratulations. YouTube thinks you're unprofessional now. You've let YouTube down.
Haven't we always been
Hi,
unprofessional?
YouTube.
Hi, YouTube. It's good to see you again. I don't know.
Hi YouTube, how you doing?
Don't try to butter up the YouTube crowd.
Oh, I'm doing what I can.
It's not gonna work.
That's right. Get in your little box, and you can be quiet. And then you get in this, or you're hopping down. Okay, sorry, I'm having a catastrophe.
Okay, Jesus. All right. Let's start the show. Ben's
right.
ruined it for the entire night, but we're gonna do one anyway because we have to be here now.
I
Okay.
suppose.
John, Ro, are you both ready for the show to start?
I guess.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Oh my god. Welcome to Azeroth Roundtable, episode 338. My name is Ben Bumhofer. It is Friday. It is time to party. I guess. Maybe. I don't know. Some people do on Fridays. We generally don't. We can kind of just hang out and chill and have fun. But it's that time that you've been waiting for me to shut up because apparently I suck. But here, to take my place, is John Jagger. How's it going, John?
Hi, Ben. Party has formed. We have 3 people. A tank, a healer, and a DPS.
It's
I'll
true.
let you wonder who the tank is, I guess. But we've assembled here to discuss the world of Warcraft. The ins and the outs, the ups and the downs, the airborne, the underwater, the people that are just on land doing, I don't know, normal stuff, I guess. And for that mission, Ben, there's only one person we could ask to join us. Ro, welcome back to the show.
You see, I was ready for you to say, and they weren't available, so we invited Ro. Thanks.
Don't sell yourself short, Ro.
No, never do that.
You're here to walk us through the world of Azeroth and soothe my rage and lift Ben out of the quagmire he exists within.
Thanks.
Why all the rage, John?
I
Why
actually,
all the
you know what? Let me just jump right in. I'm doing pretty good because you know this expansion's had its ups and its downs. You know, I was very very up at the beginning, and then I hit a little low point, and now honestly, Ro, I'm seeing Azeroth from a whole new perspective. I'm seeing it from the air because as of today, I'm flying around that place, and it feels
nice.
very good.
So you've just reached new heights.
I've reached new heights, lofty new heights, and all of a sudden, all the zones seem a little bit better than they did yesterday.
Yeah, flying does definitely. It's quite the game changer. It always is. It seems with World of Warcraft, but essentially with Val for Azeroth, heck yeah, it's world quests are done 2 to 3 times faster if that's your thing to do. And just flying, there's nothing as a horde player. There is nothing better than flying from the top of the pyramid of Dazar Lore down to the docks without having to get on your land mount.
Yeah,
That
or
is actually really great.
cost me the however much gold I repeatedly paid to take the Flight Master for a 45-second flight from the top of the pyramid to the bottom of the pyramid. Biggest gold sink I think Blizzard's ever given me was that, because boy did I throw a lot of money into that business. That was money well spent. I don't regret it, but man, I'm not gonna miss paying it Now I just mount up and take off. And man, they put you right in it. There's no like quest, there's no like item to buy. It's just like, congratulations, people now like you enough that you can fly. You can now fly on the positive feelings and emotions you've inspired in this world. And
on all your characters.
Also, here's a mount. It's already in the business. You can have that too. And it felt good. I was excited about it. I am excited about it. And I was doing dailies in Nazjatar at the moment, and I thought, okay, well, I'm going to take advantage of this, and I continued to do some of the dailies there because I was like, now I can do it the way it was meant to do. I can fly straight up and straight back down the way Nazjatar was meant to be played. And then I wound up back in Mechagon, and it's just like having an infinite jetpack now. I don't have to worry about, like, is someone going to build the thing in another 20 minutes? Like, now I'm just like, nope, I can just fly. And considering all the people that were, playing this patch right when it came out instead of considerably later, they don't want to build that platform anymore because they've already unlocked the perks of it. So I'd always just be sitting there looking like a little orphan outside of a bakery, just like, who wants to build it? Because I actually need to save this stuff up.
Sir, I want to fly.
I can see you there, flying through the air. If I could join you on this jetpack.
It'd be ever so nice.
And they just spit,
I take
just
it
spit
you never
on me
got
and then
the-
fly away. But it could be because I have a store-bought mount.
I take it you never got the blueprint for the build your own jetpack.
No, I do.
Oh, okay.
That costs resources. I'm not going to spend those. Although I did just make a gramophone or something like that, and I don't know how much good that's going to do me in this world, but I found sheet music earlier, so I figured it was time for a gramophone.
Well, John, it raises your nostalgia by 3.
Great. Well, we got that.
Get to hear some old-timey music.
Yeah.
The gramophone's an important part of my escapades in Mechagon because in my journey to get the whole meta achievement for Mechagon and get that special wheel mount from it, collecting all of the vinyls for that gramophone is one of the things you have to do. And the only 2 things I needed to finish off everything and get the mount was one of the vinyls and a blueprint. I actually found that vinyl a couple of days ago, finally.
Nice.
After, almost 3 months of Mechagon being out now. So all I have left to find is a blueprint. 1 blueprint and I'm done.
What's the blueprint?
It's for a blue spray bot. It's something you have, isn't it, John?
Maybe. It might be the green one that I have. I don't know. But it could be blue.
The funny thing is there are a lot of people that have the blue spray bot. They're like, oh yeah, I got that no problem off of data anomalies. I'm like, great. Good for you. I've fought data anomalies every time that they've been available. Never get one.
I'll tell you. I was just going to say, I'll tell you the one I feel slightly guilty about. Now, I know he doesn't like Mechagon, so honestly, my passive effort is probably more than his actual effort, is that I am dangerously close to getting the blue Mecha Tiger without, any effort trying to get it at all. And I just remember Ben telling me this story about it, how that was the one color he wanted and all of that, and figuring out what he needed to do for it, and just being like, curse you! And I am almost there. There are 2 more that I need. I have looked up where they come from just to be like, okay, well, I can make sure that I, check in on those rares every now and then, but I haven't really necessarily put a ton of effort into it. I just got very, very, I guess, lucky with the painting options dropping wherever I went.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the game knows that you're an artist, so it's just trying to give you supplies.
It's like, oh, you got paint. This person's a craftsman.
Yeah. So just real quick question, going back a little bit, is collecting vinyls the most hipster quest in the entire game?
Maybe?
Or achievement, I don't know, whatever you want to call it.
I can't argue against it. I can't think of anything more hipster in terms of collecting or doing things. I mean, isn't there a tree hugging achievement for something? I don't know.
I
Probably.
love the idea of collecting little figurines in the game in a world where we have player housing and can actively display them in a place that's ours.
Yes.
Like, I actually think it's really cool because of the way that it's, like, implemented in Mechagon. I just don't really care. I'm like, oh, I got a new vinyl. Like, whatever. I'm not going to ever really take them out and look at them or anything. At least I don't think I am. But in a world where maybe we had customizable housing or something like that and could collect, you know, figurines of all our favorite WoW lore characters, like, I actually think that would be a really neat thing to implement in the game. But you just have to have the right place to display it, and it needs to become like a worldwide thing as opposed to just like a exclusive to one little zone. But I think that could be a really neat thing, especially if it was like just a wing of your player house. You just go in and it's just shelves all around you, and you're just filling them up as you go. But
I think
action
you can
figure
relate
nerd.
to that.
a little bit.
Just looking, yeah, I think you can relate to that. Don't you think that this whole thing with Mechagon with those miniatures, just the way it's set up, the way that they have the system and rarities and such like that, I want to believe that this is setting a precedent for something they're going to do in later content. Maybe not in this expansion, but I feel like this thing with the miniatures is something we're going to see come back.
Could be. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't see why not. Especially if, I mean, if they're doing some sort of player housing, they're going to need some sort of, you know, trophies of tons of stuff because you need to fill space. That's the entire point of player housing. Except for those, you know, like Spartan people who are going to be all like, here is my pillow on the floor and I'm good. This is what I do. This is what my character is.
Yeah.
But I mean, just the idea of having like collectibles of different characters and stuff, especially like the big lore characters and stuff, is really neat. But also at the same time, I'm kind of sitting here like, okay, so Thrall's walking around and someone, you know, just random person from the Horde walks up and says, "Could you sign my Thrall?"
Yep.
And isn't that when he would say it's Goel now?
It's your Goel figurine. No, it isn't. Stop.
You have the armor. This is a limited edition. Oh, okay.
Now, because he's an action figure, everybody has an opinion on what his name is. You're Thrall. We know.
Alejandra says that she thought it was just a nod to Fallout. That it possibly
Could be. Yeah.
Yeah, what's really sad is the Kindy collector piece comes broken.
Oh,
Yeah. It's just a little
that is sad.
pile of ash.
What about the variant? Oh,
Yep, also ash.
yeah.
Different color though, so that's how you can tell them apart.
Yeah.
Yeah, one has just a light tint of green to it.
Yeah, the other one's kind of a pinkish color.
Exactly. That's how that works.
Well, that was a positive bit of news, but actually there was a cool bit of positive news we got today. We found out that the next patch is, not only have we preloaded it, a lot of people immediately raced to put in their predictions of when that might be, but I think a lot of people were surprised by it is way sooner than you might have anticipated.
Oh, can I predict?
Wait, do you not know?
Okay, I know.
Okay, stop.
I was kind of off Twitter a lot of today, so I didn't see it, but I know. I'm sorry.
The 24th. That's soon.
That's Tuesday.
That's dangerously soon. I didn't know. I knew there was a patch coming. It wasn't, my head wasn't that far under the sand. But I didn't realize we were this close to it. And all of a sudden I feel like strangely prepared for the patch. I got my war campaign all caught up. I fought Jana, I beat her up, and you know, like I'm ready for the patch. I went from just woefully behind on everything. I still am in some regards. I still got to go dip glaives in the Blood God and other stupid stuff I don't want to go do. But
well, you know, it's closing up the war campaign. That has nothing to do with it, so you know.
Yeah. I don't care what Vol'jin has to say for himself. I think Sylvanas is doing a fine job. I don't need his stupid justifications for why he did what he did. It worked out. Shut up, Vol'jin. Let us have let us have our horde. Stop butting in. You didn't want to do anything when you were war chief. Why are you suddenly taking an interest now that you're dead?
Well, and I mean, if anything, this is the ultimate. Hey, don't listen to strange voices you hear. You know, if you have regrets, you listen to strange voices.
Yeah.
Not the way to do it.
You're the big dummy that got stabbed and was like, I don't know, the voice told me to do something. Burp.
I'm surprised that it's coming this quickly, and I knew we'd get it before BlizzCon. I think that was never a question. But man, I'm really just I'm wondering how it's all going to end. There's a couple of big, huge encrypted cinematics. Who knows if those will be viewable on day one or not? I have a feeling, especially because we're getting this patch so quickly, and we have like what 6 weeks till BlizzCon. I almost have a feeling that, and John's gonna hate me saying this, I already know it.
I'm already mad at you. I was mad at you before you even brought this up, so by all means, go ahead.
I have a feeling that this war campaign conclusion isn't going to all be laid out onto us in 1 week. I have a feeling it's going to come at us a little bit at a time, building up for the big cinematic, which drops right before, a week or two before BlizzCon, where you have everyone wondering, what's next?
Yeah, we got to have that gated content. Blizzard has to keep saving us from ourselves. Because we can't apparently regulate what we actually want as human beings. So Papa Blizzard has to come in and help us out.
Or it's going to be all right there and freaking awesome right away.
You know what, Ben? That would be great. I would love that. But this was literally my reaction. I've been flying really high, literally now, on the content in WoW. Because... a big part of that is, and obviously there's some level of gating. You can only do so many daily quests in a day. But that was good because I wasn't actually completing them all. Actually trying to do both Mechagon and Nazjatar. I put a lot more effort into Mechagon. I had hit Revered probably 4 days ago. Just hit it with Nazjatar today. By kind of flip-flopping and then putting more effort into Nazjatar. So it wasn't taxing me too much, and that pacing felt good, and I didn't mind kind of the natural gating that came out of that. But being able to do the war campaign and just go through and do it, and not have to sit there and go, well, now I gotta wait another week for this, was so nice. I didn't do it all in one sitting. I said, okay, this is a good spot for me to take a break, go do something else. I'll pick this up tomorrow. Here's when I want to do this content. It was awesome. And honestly, it took cinematics and moments that I had already seen, and it made it more interesting to me because I was now experiencing it in game at the pace I wanted and going through and just experiencing it that way. And I really, really liked it. And so I've been really excited hearing about the conclusion and knowing that it's coming soon and all that stuff. And I'm like, yes, I'm so ready. I can't wait. And so when I heard like, oh, it's the 24th, I mean, I wasn't this excited about this expansion since they announced it. That's where I was at. And it was like a count of 5. And then it was, it's going to be time gated, right? And as soon as that thought crept into my head, I plummeted all the way to, we'll say, deep home as far as like excitement level. I was like, oh my gosh, they are going to do that, aren't they? I really hope they don't, but I'm realistic and I know they will. I really hope that Blizzard does what I think they should do. We'll see where you guys land on this. Because, bro, a while back when they data mined the files, there was an announcement, the 6-minute cutscene or cinematic, it's encrypted. You got online, you said, I hope they keep it that way up until the content becomes relevant. And being a little pisser, I was like, I hope they don't. Boom, nullified your vote. In reality, I kind of agree with you. While I don't like While I don't care about spoilers and all of that, I do think there is something to be said about understanding that there are going to be people that as soon as they see that are going to want to have a conversation about it.
Mm-hmm.
And
Right.
so setting a point that is an equal point for people to either put their fingers in their ears or get out there and talk about it is fair. You're not surprising somebody. It wasn't like somebody who wasn't paying attention to data mining or all of that all of a sudden got on Twitter and was like, what? I had no idea this was even happening, and now it's all been spoiled for me. I think what Blizzard should do is on the 24th, that's the date, yep. On the 24th, they themselves should put out the cinematics on YouTube. Make it very clear that they are putting it out, that you can go watch it. It's not going to come from Wowhead or any other site that data mined it out. Say, here's the content. It's out there. And let people have an equal point to judge for themselves whether they want to have to experience it in the game or jump in line and see it.
I want to say, I think with the 8.2 cinematics and the raid cinematics, the day that they were able to be seen, like the day that you were able to complete the raid content and stuff like that, those videos went up on the World of Warcraft YouTube channel.
I think
it may
they
have
did,
not.
yeah.
I don't think it was like immediately the soonest moment possible, but within that 24-hour period, they were up there.
So here's the thing. If it is content that is going to be gated,
Mm-hmm.
If it stays encrypted until it comes to the point where that gate finally opens, I'm fine if they put it on YouTube that day. If it's gated content that people won't be able to see it naturally in the course of the game for like 3-4 weeks, it cannot go on YouTube.
Right.
There are people who want to be able to experience it as they progress through the whole thing, like John was saying. But the second you put it on YouTube and you're not even able to experience it in game yet, that's when it jumps in, and that's when people need to talk about it. That's when people will flippantly think that they're being so clever and talking around things and just blatantly spoiling everything for people who do want to see this stuff. And at that point, that's like weeks of, okay, I'm getting off of social media. I'm turning guild chat off. I'm not talking to anybody, because in that sense, like, I understand there is responsibility on the person who doesn't want to be spoiled on something to take measures so that they aren't. But if you give or put that information out there so soon when it is literally gated, then that's where I have an issue with that, because then it's like, well, I'm turning off all chat. You know, I'm one of the people, I mean, we've talked about it many times on the show. I don't like spoilers because I like to experience it in the moment. It's how I get the most, like, you know, emotion out of it and everything. So if I'm just like logging in suddenly and someone's like, oh my God, I can't believe this happened. It's like, okay, great. I know that happened. And then when I'm watching it, I don't care at that point.
I will say that for myself, when it comes to specifically World of Warcraft cinematics, I will almost always watch a raid conclusion cinematic ahead of actually getting to that point with the raid team, simply because given our raid team and its comp and its nature, I don't expect us to get there right away, and people are already going to be talking about that cinematic well ahead of it otherwise, so I figure I'm going to see it. But with most of the other cinematics that are able to be seen just by going through solo content yourself, I try to stay away from that stuff for the most part until I actually experience it in game.
I think what both of you said are reasonable, fair, and good. If they gate the content and they aren't going to release the cinematic until whenever they decide that gate expires, I hope someone breaks the encryption and posts it. I don't have any good reason to justify this feeling, but that's what I hope happens.
Yeah. Well, let me put it this way. I am perfectly fine if it's on Wowhead or if it's on MMO champion. I couldn't think of the other one.
Right.
If it's there and someone went through, actually broke the encryption and put it out there, great. It's not on my YouTube page. It's not on, like the WoW launcher. It's not, potentially, less of an audience will be talking about it in guild chat, because it's not available in game yet. And I think that's the big difference there. And granted, I don't want it broken because, again, I want to experience that, especially if they gate it. Like, if come Tuesday, if all of a sudden it's like, hey, you can see the entire cinematic and everything, you better believe that I'm staying off of Twitter all day. I'm getting home, I'm logging in, and I'm playing my butt off until I see those cinematics. Because I want to see it. I want to know what's going on and everything. But if it's just out there and, I have no chance of seeing it and stopping it from being spoiled, then that's when it's like, okay.
And I guess I should be clear. I don't think Blizzard should be like, hey, here's us putting out the cinematic that you can't see in the game. Because I do agree with Ben, that's weird. But I feel like Blizzard should take ownership of it and should put it out there for people, and not have it be a thing that you're going to Wowhead necessarily for. But I also don't think they should do gated content. So, that's a lot of like, they shouldn't do this and they also shouldn't do this.
What if they just put out a statement, Russo Brothers style, and said, hey, don't spoil it for 2 weeks?
Sylvanas demands your silence.
No, I'm absolutely serious about this. Do you think that the Warcraft community, that the players, the people on there, would actually respect that if Blizzard asked them not to?
I mean,
some of it.
I think. I mean, you're always going to have people that aren't.
Oh yeah,
do
I mean,
thing, but
aside from the people that will just be complete jerks about it anyway.
Right. I mean, I loved that. I wish more movies came out and said, "Here's where we consider spoilers are open," because that set a really nice standard for me. Like, even though it was total BS, like it's just a number somebody made up. It set a good standard for me to say, you know what, I will only talk quietly to people I know who have seen it. It'll just be between us, and then once that hits, I can talk about it, and I don't have to feel bad about it, and I can get on Twitter, and I can be like, man, Cap lifting Thor's hammer was awesome, and if anybody comes at me and says, spoilers, I get to say, nope, there was a rule. There was an established rule, which we all heard about and followed, and I can talk about this now. It's acceptable. Now, here's the thing, and this is the rule that everybody should follow with spoilers. I knew somebody that wasn't going to get to see it within the 2 weeks. Even though the Russo brothers gave me permission to ruin whatever I wanted, I respected that for that person, because I knew that they were waiting for a specific event. It was going to be 3 weeks instead of 2. Didn't stop me on Twitter if I had a moment, but I wasn't seeking that person out. I wasn't going to places that I knew they would
actively do it.
Right. It just takes people in general being good to one another, and I think for the most part,
say it every week.
Hey, we can all get there, but there's still going to be people that they'll get that information, and that will be the first thing they just start yelling is, to anybody who will listen, here's what the outcome is. I think where my excitement is, why I'm unreasonable and like, don't time gate it, put it out right away, you shouldn't even have encrypted it to begin with, we should already know, is just because I think most of us expect that this cinematic is going to be the swerve. And I keep talking about the swerve. I've mentioned it a lot.
It's been the thing of 2019 for this show.
Right. We have been waiting a really long time to find out why this isn't Pandaria again. Why Sylvanas isn't Garrosh again. Why this isn't just a repeat of a story a lot of us have already played again. And we all, I think, are aware that a swerve is coming. And so we're just like, when's it gonna happen? What's it gonna be? And so I'm just sitting here like, any minute now, we're gonna find out what the swerve is.
So here's the thing. Are they being so secretive because there is a swerve? Or are they being so secretive because it's just Teldrassil all over again?
Is the swerve that it's not a swerve, but we were expecting a swerve?
Yeah, because, okay, if we look back at Teldrassil, everyone's like, oh, this would be amazing if this happened. This would be great if this happened. You know, like, there's so many different theories and everything. I still think Gen should have done it because that would have been amazing. And storytelling-wise, how cool would that be? But that's not what happened. Blizzard told the story that they're telling, and that's fine. Obviously, they can tell the story they want to. But there was so much of I don't know if backlash is the right word, but there was just so much people are just so blasé about it. They just didn't care. They're just, it's exactly as it looked like with all the secrecy that you're touting.
And speaking of that, I want to say, and for people who haven't read the book, I'm not going to say exactly what it is, but Ben and I actually talked about this on the Rolling Restart. Sylvanas actually says in the Before the Storm book what her ultimate goal is, and it's mentioned in that book. And if that gets brought up in 825, then it's been there all along.
Mm-hmm.
And you can say it. It's been more than 2 weeks since the book came out.
Yeah,
Well,
also,
yeah,
the thing you're
true.
talking about was literally in the book sampler they gave us at BlizzCon.
Yes. Yes, it was.
In fact, it was the big exclamation point on the preview for the book preview we got at BlizzCon. So for anybody that's like, what is Ro talking about? Go dig out your BlizzCon goodie bags or whatever, find the little sample of the book, and look at, like, the last paragraph. And basically it spells out what Sylvanas' ultimate goal is. And
that spelling it is STORMWINE.
Yes.
Yep.
That's so that your kids don't know what they're getting for Christmas.
Yeah, now
Right,
kids...
That's why we spelled it.
We protected kids from spoilers this day. We should feel very
Awesome.
proud of ourselves. I think there is a story, and I've read theories as such that, what the swerve will be pertaining to Stormwind and things like that. It's interesting. It's an interesting thought. I still think at the end of the day, it was a poor exercise to tread so much of the same ground again. There was plenty of potential to tell this exact same story without repeating. And I hope that one lesson Blizzard takes away from this expansion is to understand that when you scope out a story on paper and you go, oh, this is a good story, because I maintain this is a good story, that looks very different when it's spread across 2 years than it does when you look at it on a piece of paper in front of you and go, oh, this is the direction we're going. And if there's one hope that I have as far as lessons learned, is just let's think about how this story is going to play out over the course of a year, 2 years even, because we've waited a long time just to get to what's different. And that's too long to wait to find out what's different about the story.
Exactly. Yeah.
I want to say... Oh, go ahead.
Oh, no. Go right ahead. I was reiterating.
One thing that I'm hopeful for, and this is based on stuff we've seen in previous cinematics, going back to the cinematic with Thrall and Jana after they rescue Saurfang, there's that moment in which Thrall and Jana are talking about things, and Thrall's like, Alliance and Horde, time and time again, it's the same thing. What's going to be different? What's different this time? What's changed this time? And Jana says, us. That moment there, that exchange of dialogue is giving me hope that whatever is happening in 825 is going to be an example of what is different this time. They're setting it up. They're saying things are going to be different this time because we're different. Okay, you've made your pitch. Now it's time to act on those words.
I've got it. Okay. The biggest difference so far is that Jane is there instead of Vol'jin. So what's going to happen is that Jaina becomes the new war chief.
Oh, great. That's
I
fun.
already have...
And then she gets killed by being stabbed, and then the Loa tell her that she needs to name someone as the new war chief. That's in the expansion afterwards.
And she picks Arthas.
Do you want to know my crazy theory for right now for where we're going?
1 second, just because I don't
Sure.
want to lose this thread
No,
before
it's
we
fine.
move on from it. I do want to agree with you, Ro. I think that cinematic itself, the Thrall and Jana bit, is probably the most excited it made me for the future of the story for the reason you said. Just in general, it was the first acknowledgement of we've done this before. Like, not just Horde and Alliance teaming up, but it's also the first time anybody has mentioned Garrosh. And I'm just like, I've been playing through this whole thing, and I'm like, nope, really? Nobody's going to look at Sylvanas and be like, you're another Garrosh. Like, nobody has any feedback for her on this. Like, we're just going to... That's what made me honestly lose the most faith in their storytelling, was if they had maybe given me a few more winks and nods of, we understand we're telling the same story, but early on Blizzard played it super coy with like, this is very different. And then as it like became a little too clear that it wasn't different, it was like, well, Sylvanas is different. And it's like, okay, but we haven't seen that yet. And it was just like,
This
well,
time
hang
you
on,
get to
hang on.
choose if you stand up against her or are loyal.
Oh, I'm so curious where I'm going to end up. Like, all these characters I really love, I'm totally against and betraying right now. And I'm like, where does this end for my character?
Well, and I kind of mentioned this on Rolling Restart, is that so after you defeat Ashara, you see that whole cinematic and stuff. If you turn in the quest line for that, I forgot his name again. Lorthamar.
Lorthamar, Ben.
Thank you. I'm like, a second time I did this. That's how memorable he is. Lorthamar is basically like, okay, I'm going to grab Bane and Thrall, and we're just going to go confront Sylvanas right now. And it's like, okay, but I just killed Ashara. I was there with you, and I'm on Sylvanas' side. What's going on with that? There's this whole other like dangling plot thread where, I mean, and Blizzard's got the numbers for how many people stuck with Sylvanas and how many people didn't. Like, first of all, I'm really curious as what those numbers are. We'll never get them.
That's the thing I want more than anything. Forget your 6-minute cutscene. I want to tell me how many people picked Sylvanas and how many people didn't. I really want to know the numbers behind that.
I think we get that info at BlizzCon. It seems like a fun thing they drop at BlizzCon.
Okay, 3 people sided with Sylvanas, John, Ben, and one of Ro's characters. No. Oh, sorry, I'm getting the double birds flipped at me. 4 people, also Nevermore.
Yeah.
Okay, so wait a minute. 100% of the people available to poll sided with Sylvanas?
Well, obviously, great minds think alike. We hang out together. We have our own special club. Don't forget the secret handshake.
Chat room, if you
Ben.
didn't side with Sylvanas, let's just get a number count. Just say it was you.
I can make a poll or something, can't I?
I don't know.
I don't know either. Whatever.
Well, the one thing I'm curious about is the whole thing with the consequences and what side you choose on. There are 2 cinematics. Now, I mostly don't believe this, but wouldn't it be fun if going with one side lets you see one cinematic and the other side lets you see the other? And I will follow that up by quickly saying that wouldn't necessarily be cool because one is much longer than the other. One's 3 minutes and change, one's 6 minutes and change. So one side would get a whole lot more content. But it'd be interesting if they actually worked the cinematics into whose side you went with. But then you have the Alliance to figure out too. So I don't know.
Yeah, well, and see, here's the thing: is that those people are just siding with the Alliance. So next expansion, the game is going to be 90% Alliance, and then Sylvanas is groupies.
4 of us. PvP gonna be real weird. Also, none of us PvP, so it's gonna dry up real quick. Yeah.
Here's my theory on the future of Warcraft, and I'm going.
I totally
to places,
froze. There we go. Okay, everybody's back.
I'm going to places I've been to before, but with a different twist on it this time. And this is stuff I'm probably going to end up bringing up in a month on the prediction episode. But I think the next expansion is going to be Horde, Alliance, and Forsaken. And I think there's going to be a Forsaken third faction led by Sylvanas, and you will be able to create Forsaken characters of any race. that are part of that faction. So you can have Forsaken Pandaren, Forsaken Tauren, Forsaken Night Elves. It'll be Horde and Alliance against Sylvanas' Forsaken, and Horde and Alliance against each other. If there was ever going to be a 3-faction system, we've been thinking, when I hear 3 factions brought up all the time, people think about, well, what about Horde, Alliance, and the faction that wants to be like the peacemakers, right? The people that don't want to be involved in the war. They'd be the 3rd faction. I actually think it might be flipped upside down, where it's Horde, Alliance, and Sylvanas' faction.
So Sylvanas' faction would become the new underdogs. They become the new Horde.
And basically.
Sure.
All right. Yeah.
Now,
John.
If that happened, John, would you join that 3rd faction?
Yeah. Heck yeah. I don't raid anymore. I don't need to stick around with anybody.
Well, here's the thing. Would I have to turn my Pandaren into an undead Pandaren?
I'd be interested to see what an undead Pandaren looks like. That's just fascinating.
They'd probably lose a lot of weight.
It's true.
Just a guess, though.
They look like abominations, but panda-y. Like a
Yeah.
like a fuzzy
Ears.
abomination. Yeah.
Bouncy abominations.
Oh, that'd be really interesting to see and disturbing at the same time. I'm good. No.
I mean, you know my stance whenever people throw out the idea of a 3rd faction. It always is like, okay, well, what do you do to guilds? Are you just going to cut them up and say they don't matter? What about these people that, need to stick together? Are you ending raid teams? What are you doing? Like, are you causing such a disruption? But I mean, there's also rumors that the factions might be going away. Like, that's one of the prevalent rumors about this, that this really is the end of the faction conflict. And if they're willing to break that barrier, and they've put in the tech behind breaking that barrier, then maybe what faction you're on, who you associate with, and all of that stops mattering. And maybe you can say, hey, you know what? You can pull from the entirety of the World of Warcraft population for activities, for raids, for dungeons, for whatever, but storyline-wise, there are factions you can belong to. Mm-hmm. And, they could always go that way, too.
Worm rest accord.
That's
I like dragons.
You're like screw 3 factions. We need like 19, 20 factions.
Exactly.
And I've picked out mine. It's the dragon faction.
There's
Let's
one person.
sell fucking ears. Yeah.
There's one person. Hydraxian Waterlords.
It's me. I'm not playing WoW Classic for some reason.
I'm the only one. Oh man! Okay, so if there was like one main faction, what would you what would be your big faction that you'd support? Like, okay, you have to take away all the Horde and Alliance factions; those are just gone. You don't get to throw that there. It's
And
any
we're
of the,
not.
the
We're saying that there
ones.
isn't a Sylvanas faction.
Yes, we're saying there's not a Sylvanas faction. So the
Okay.
factions that are available now that you can like get exalted with.
Oh, okay. So any reputation that exists in the game, I can rep that faction.
Yeah.
I got mine easy.
Oh, we'll go for it. Well, John thinks about it.
Yeah.
The Time Walkers.
Okay.
Okay.
It'd absolutely be the Time Walkers. Because I'm all about bronze dragonflight, fighting infinite dragonflight, all that good stuff.
Okay.
Mine doesn't make a lot of sense.
Hydraxian Waterlords.
No. Mine is it's more of a my personal history in WoW sort of thing. So mine would be the Argent Crusade.
That still makes sense, though. There's a bunch of undead still in Northrend.
Right, but I'm sitting there being like, I'd side with Sylvanas. She's now the natural enemy to that faction, and I'm like, it's like, well, what faction? I'm like, the faction that is clearly opposed to what my viewpoints supposedly are. But yeah, Argent Crusade was one of the first factions that it wasn't my first exalted rep, I don't think, but getting that tabard from the pre-Lich King event and just like feeling united going up to Northrend, feeling like I was a part of that. There were reps before, but when I got that tabard and went off to fight Arthas, that felt like I belonged to another faction, and that was a really cool moment for me.
That'd be pretty cool.
And I'm not, I see John wants never-ending jousting. I'm not talking about jousting Argent Crusade. I mean, I guess that's a part of it, but, like, I'm talking about... Well, actually, was the Argent Crusade the Lich King version, or was it the Argent Dawn?
Argent Dawn was the first version.
Okay,
The
so
Argent
yeah,
Dawn
I guess I'm
became the
talking
Argent
about
Crusade.
Argent Dawn, but it became Argent Crusade, so it's all kind of the same.
At
But
least it's not the Scarlet
technically,
Crusade.
I'm thinking about the Argent Dawn.
Yeah, you know what? You're good with either.
I have the little tabard. You right-click it and you flex. It's pretty good.
Oh, sweet, you do? I never noticed that.
Yeah.
I should double check to see what mine does. I remember that, like, I got the tabard and I was super happy, but I never got any of the armor pieces because I didn't have a plate wearer at the time. And I'm so bummed about that because it looks really cool.
I
will never have
wonder,
it.
you know what? And that just, this is a totally random thought now and completely off the rails, but I gotta say it anyhow. Do people playing WoW Classic talk about when they advertise that they have a guild, that they have a bank and a tabard? Because that was a thing I remember from Burning Crusade when I'd see guild recruiting messages. We have a bank and a tabard.
And a tabard.
Well, I can tell you for a fact that the guild banks don't exist in Classic.
Not yet.
That's true.
They will.
Tabards do, though. And yeah, that is a recruiting point, tabards.
Yeah, I used to actually, that was like, I wanted you to have a cool name. I wanted your tabard to look good because there weren't a lot of tabards in the game. And like tabards were cool. Tabards weren't something that was in a lot of games. And I thought it made your character look cool. But like if you joined a guild that had a shitty tabard, like you were
that was the
screwed.
worst.
You needed something that was going to go well with whatever armor you were going to wear. So guild shopping
Look,
like had a high priority on tabard.
My tabard's brown with a pie on it. And we're called the Defenders.
The poo pie.
Why? It makes no sense. But no, I wouldn't wear that tabard. I wouldn't be happy with it.
No.
I remember the original guild that we were in together, you were not a big fan of the tabard because as a female blood elf, it was the symbol was the bear claws, and it looks like it was like copping a field.
Yep, I hated it. I was like, I'm walking around with a tabard that's freaking groping my character all the time. I hate this. It drove me crazy. I did not like that tabard.
That's why you didn't wear the guild tabard very often.
Yeah, thankfully it wasn't long before they put good tabards in the game. Actually, you know, that's the funny thing is, you know, as soon as I could get the tabard of the Achiever, I friggin' ground for that something fierce. Because I was like, I'll have a cool tabard no matter what. This will be fine. So that was what I wore for a really long time. But yeah, that tabard that they had was awful. I hated that thing.
The black and green wasn't bad, but yeah.
I don't like black and green. I always consider,
really?
like, I'm going to alienate a bunch of people who's picked this for their tabard. I always pictured if you went black and green, you were an edgelord. Like, to me, that was the color of, I want it dark and I want it to be poison. And I just, like, I hate it. I hate that combination so much. I don't like it.
My mind never went there. Hey, black matches everything.
The problem is I knew somebody that was literally his thought process in real life. And so that was like his color scheme for everything. And I mean, you know who it is, but we can talk about it later.
That's fine.
But yeah, it was just like it just like to me that was immediately just like the edgelord colors and like super try hard, and I just didn't like it. I mean, don't get me wrong, like black tabards, black tends to go with everything, so it's not a bad call. But as soon as you make it like that toxic green, I was just like, oh, you're just trying so hard. Stop it.
Would you prefer red? You know, blood.
It's a little better. It's definitely still in the realm of like, But I know people who I thought black and gold always looked great.
Yeah.
Big surprise that I like the Argent Dawn tabard. But I knew people that would refuse because it would be a cold day in hell before a horde faction guild would put gold on a tabard. So that was a hard line for some people.
Some people get really into faction pride, so much so that they can't stand. It's like Colors Week at a college or something. It's like, oh, Red and what, silver? Is red and black? Like, are those the two colors for Horde?
Yeah,
I mean, obviously red, but...
red and black are the colors. But to me, like, if you did like a black tabard with a red logo on it, you're just trying to be cool. If you did a red tabard with a black logo on it, then you're kind of trying to rep the Horde to some degree. That's my distinction. Except
you can't really make out the symbol with the black on the red.
No, you can't. It's a terrible combination, but at least you're trying.
Go Horde! We're the bunny rabbits? When? Oh, okay. Cool.
It's weird because my ideal tabard colors, even though I've been playing mostly Horde side, my ideal tabard colors tend to be like a navy shade of blue and some either gray or black as a secondary color.
You know, I've been okay. So when I was playing a mage, I never wore a tabard because it's like, hey, I've got robes, so it just looks stupid. So never really did that. But ever since I've been the monk, I'm like, okay, I've got a chance to actually rep tabards and have it look cool now. And I've been wearing the Volpera one a lot this expansion. Basically,
really?
It's like if I'm wearing a tabard, boom, Volpera. Yeah. I love that stupid little race so much, and I want them to be playable so badly.
I think it's gonna happen.
Can I tell you guys a really weird hang-up I have when it comes to tabards?
Of course.
Yeah.
Okay, so in theory, right, tabards, they Blizzard made a decision to time to factions and rep and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But ultimately, it should just kind of be about, like, oh, this looks cool. I mean, that's literally what we're talking about with the guild tabards is, oh, I want something that looks cool. And I'm sitting here going, oh, people read too much into it. Here's the thing. I can't wear any faction tabards or rep tabards because I feel like I'm telling the world that my character associates with these people. And most of the time, I don't. Like... By the time I've hit Exalted with you and gotten a tabard, I don't want anything to do with your faction anymore, let alone walk around and rep them. The closest I got to being like really tempted was actually, I can't remember the name of the faction, but in Cataclysm, it was that like black dragon clan of orcs who are like the worst. Dragon Maw. Yep. They're like the worst when it comes to lore. But they got a cool ass tabard that I really like. It's also very edgelord. So before you point out before you point out the hypocrisy, let me just say that I'm aware of it.
Black with like a sword with like daggers and a pattern around it. Well, I know they're like dragon wings, but oh my gosh, what is John?
It's cool, but like I still wasn't gonna do it.
Oh, okay.
But it was a really cool tabard. But I have a hard time. Like I always feel like I'm representing what they stand for, and I'm like, it's always like weird factions that I like the tabard of too, and I'm like, why would my character wear this? She doesn't care about these people.
Oh man. That's absolutely fantastic, though.
So many cool tabards have gotten ignored as a result of it because I'm just like, no, I can't justify doing this.
Yeah. Well, Go ahead. Oh, okay, fine. I'm going. Yes. It's like the spirit of competition tabard that I have. I'm like, yeah, I was around when we had this and everything. I never wear it though. But I should.
No, because that one's even worse, because now you're also repping the Olympics, which, like, I don't have a problem with the Olympics, but, like, it's an extra layer. It's like a whole new thing that's in. It's like, not only am I going to break immersion, but I'm going to rep this weird thing on an odd tabard.
I think my favorite tabard has to be like one of the ones from the TCG that I got for a gift. So it's not even one that has to be anything with the faction. But yeah, the trading card tabards are pretty cool. So those are the ones I tend to wear. And if I'm not wearing those, it's probably the Argent Crusade tabard because half the time I use that to teleport to Northrend and forget to remove it.
Yeah, the tabards I use are either TCG, Tabard of the Achiever. That's a good one. What are some other really good ones? The one that you had to like, was it the thing you paid a bunch of
Shattered
money
Sun
for?
Suns-
Yeah, the Shattered
Offensive.
Sun Offensive's a really good tabard. I really like that tabard.
I do
actually.
too. That is actually a really good tabard.
That tabard's fantastic. I will say one of the coolest things that's in the game right now, it exists in some of the, at least for the leather side, the Blood Elf Heritage armor has this. So does the current like Darkshire Warfront armor set. They have a cool chest piece type thing that sticks out a bit, like a big piece of padding on the chest. And if you wear a tabard, the tabard actually appears underneath it. So it hides the logo of whatever it is you're wearing and just creates kind of a cool, unique look. So that's another cool way that you can come up with something unique. I have a tendency to wear with that the Blood Elf faction tabard, which is, I mean, my character's a Blood Elf, so that's not crazy. But again, it's also like wearing a shirt that's like "Go Humans."
Which you can get at the Argent tournament. You can get those faction shirts.
Yeah.
In fact, I got that so I could get the fashionista achievements. I'm like, oh, I know where I could buy some shirts really fast. And went boop 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 and just picked them up. Yeah, I've got Go Orcs shirts.
Yeah, we're people. Woohoo! We did it. It's interesting. It's fine.
Yeah, so it's like, okay, so I've got the Vulpera one that I really like. The Shattered Sun Offensive one is pretty awesome, but my monk didn't do that because she wasn't around during that time, so she never wears it, obviously. I wear the Hujin Pandaren. I used to wear that for a bit because it's like, yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah.
You know, kind of cool. And I do like some of the Pandaren like faction tabards, but I don't really wear them though. Probably should. Kind of makes sense.
Yeah. It'd be in character, sure.
Yeah. Nothing from Warlords. Don't care. Some of the Legion ones were cool too, but I don't think I ever really wore them for the most part. But man, tabards are something that is like really cool, and if the design is right, they can be so awesome. But if the design is wrong with like some odd color choices, it's like no one will ever wear that except for the NPCs.
I feel
a little bad.
I still think it's really, really weird that the Sylvanas Undercity tabard looks very bizarre on an undead.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I feel like that faction needs a new tabard because they tried to go with putting that broken like mask type logo, and with the way the undead hunch and all of that, it just looks weird on them. It doesn't look right.
Through the back.
Yeah, and it always seemed weird to me that they had a tabard that just it's for their faction and it doesn't look cool on them. It looks cooler on just about all the other races.
Since they're getting a new faction, John,
sweet.
Change.
Oh man,
something new.
Whoa, wait. What if straight walking Forsaken?
They usually
you mean
walk straight.
upright?
Upright, yeah, upright posture. I mean Forsaken, yeah.
Well, that's when all the Lightforged Forsaken show up. They're the ones who are going to be able to stand up.
Blizzard has to know that like upright Forsaken is a good idea. They gave them all that
so
like
good.
standing at attention pose, and they look freaking awesome. It's
Yeah.
just like the upright orcs. It's like, look, I get you guys were going for like a feeling and a theme, but like you put these characters just like standing at attention, and they look 1,000 times cooler than they did before.
Yeah. The whatever trolls that they have, they can stay just hunched over. That's fine. Everyone else should have the option to stand up straight.
They gave us upright trolls as long as you go with the Zandalari.
Well, yeah, the Zandalari trolls are great. They're fine standing up. The
Dark Spear.
Dark Spear, thank you.
Oh, yeah.
The Dark
Yeah,
Spear trolls. Yeah, no, they could just always be hunched over. That's fine. But yeah, the fact that orcs can, be standing straight up now, perfect. Love it. I think every single orc that I see standing up actually looks intimidating and like powerful compared to hunched over orcs. Like hunched over orcs are like, whatever. But when they're standing up straight and everything, they just look so good.
Every time I see a hunched over orc, just in my head, it just starts playing, "So you had a bad day." Just
picture him like sitting at a bar, just taking a drink.
Just zug zug.
But so just while we're kind of talking about character models and everything, 8.2.5 Worgen and Goblin models. Yeah.
For goblins,
kinda didn't need
I'll
it.
take your word for it.
Yeah, I mean, I've
look
got a
good
Goblin alt that's at 110. I haven't brought her up to 120 yet, but I'm interested in logging her on and seeing how she looks with a glow up, as they say nowadays. Is that what the kids call it nowadays? A glow up? I don't know.
You're asking two old men.
I get this. I understand.
Nope.
Yeah,
They
I want to
could
make a female Worgen now.
Blizzard really could have. They could have just been like, we're changing the Worgen models and we're changing the Goblin models. See if they notice. I don't know. Like, they keep putting pictures of goblins and things, and I'm like, I guess that's the new model. I don't know.
I will say Goblins and Things is my favorite curio shop in the mall.
Okay. But the Worgen models look great. They look like wolves. So that's good. That's
Some cool looking wolves.
That feels like an objective achieved. Congratulations, Blizzard. It only took this long to make your freaking wolves look like wolves. You did
Especially
it.
the female ones. They actually look like wolves again.
It was like back in the day, there was a... Do they still do collectible DVD, like behind the scenes stuff with their collector's editions? They don't anymore, right?
Well, everything's a collector's edition these days.
Let me go back in the day, in the early collector's editions of World of Warcraft. One of the bonus things you got was a making of the expansion DVD. You would put it in a DVD player. It's what we used before streaming. And it was really funny. It's just a very ironic moment to see, because for Lich King, there was like a bunch of footage of people at Blizzard like taking photos of snow and ice and stuff like that. Because, like, despite being called Blizzard, they're a California company, and it turns out they don't know what the hell that actually looks like. So they went on, like, field trips and stuff to be like, yes, what are the properties of snow? And it just seems so weird for the company Blizzard to have to, like, go find out what that is. That image has always stuck in my head, and I love it. And I picture the same thing happening with wolves. They're like... They don't like the Worgen models. Why? They say it doesn't look like a wolf. Well, what does a wolf even look like?
There's just a chihuahua just sitting on a table.
We use that. It's a dog.
A dog's
That's
not
close,
a wolf, Jim.
They bring in a real wolf.
Oh.
I
Where'd the chihuahua
know.
go?
I didn't know. We didn't know.
They have
You should have
hair.
sent a poet.
And with that, nothing can top that quote. Ro, thank you so much for joining us this week. It has been a ton of fun.
It's always fun being on the show, guys. I can't wait for the next appearance, which, if I'm not mistaken, should be a pretty good one.
Hopefully, we'll see. We should probably start planning that, John.
I only just found out I'm apparently going to BlizzCon, so
Oh,
Hey!
I gotta figure out. I don't know how I'm gonna make this happen, so
Magic!
California.
I don't know how I'm getting there. I don't know where I'm staying. I don't know
I'm
how
sorry
I'm
that
gonna.
I'm not a ride.
I don't know how I'm gonna take care of myself as a human being. Here's the only part about BlizzCon I know. They will let me in.
John,
Yep.
pack deodorant.
Got
You're
it.
like 90% of the way there.
Okay. Good.
And remember, Denny's bad.
Just go from hotel to hotel. I'm wearing deodorant.
Oh, and pants.
Yes, pants are important.
Shit, I forgot something. Woo!
Anyways,
Oh, I got a
Ro-
free stay. Look.
Oh, but now I can't go to BlizzCon.
Aw.
You think you guys would let me out? No. Okay. Anyways, Ro, until next time we do have you on, where can people find you?
Best way to find me on the internet's go to Twitter at Rowow, RHOWOW, and you can check out all the other podcasts I do, which is Realm Maintenance, Rolling Restart, Hearth
That's a good
Casual. Yes. And +5 to hit.
That's also a good show.
It is.
And I'm not only saying that because I'm on both of those periodically. Thank you, Ro. John.
Hi,
Question
Ben.
for you, sir.
Oh, hello.
If people were looking to find you on the internet, where might they look?
The internet's own John Jagger can be found on Twitter at John_Jagger. That's a good place to find out, what I think, what I might be up to, what I'm doing. Ramblings assorted is how you would file that. But if you're saying, hey, John, I want to hear podcasts with you, well, I do a couple of those.
Hey, John, I want to hear podcasts with you.
Well, I do a couple of those, as it turns out. I do this one, which you heard, so you know. Why am I telling you? But I also do a video game show called Core.
Core?
Yeah, Core. That's a video game show, part of the Frog Pants Network. You can find out more about that. HeroesForYou.com. We talk about video games, sort of. Sometimes we talk about movies. Sometimes we talk about poop. I don't know. We talk about a lot of things on that show. Covers a wide variety of topics. Mm-hmm. And if you say, well, John, that's great. I need more. Well,
hey, John, that's great. I need more.
Well, I also do a D&D podcast where we play Dungeons and Dragons. And that is called There Will Be Dungeons. And we do that. Yeah, Twibbidibba. And, we do that every week. Sundays, typically. You find out more about that at therewillbedungeons.com. And I have successfully made this go long enough to successfully log into Patreon for the thing I have to do later. Because I had to recover the password.
How can you not? Okay, great.
Well, so I cleared,
we don't need to talk about
I
our
cleared
password.
my cookies and stuff, Ben. I had to.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it lost all the stuff. It's fine.
So did you change what
I
the
didn't
password
know
was?
it. No. Yeah, I changed it. It's now 48 characters with capitals, numbers, and special characters.
That's a really long password.
Yep. Well, we're
Now, is the
very
48, is it
secure.
typed out like 48, like all letters, or is it 4
Yep.
and then 8?
Darn it, we shouldn't have given our password away on the air, but now we have, and we're just going to have to live with it because I'm not changing it again.
I'll change it, but with 47 characters.
Oh my gosh, what are you doing?
Trying to close the show.
Madness.
That's
Ben.
right, John. If you are looking for me online, you can follow me on Twitter. I am at Ben Bumhofer. And I'm just now realizing it sounds like I copy everything you do because I'm on this show.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to hear me talk about video games and movies and other things, I do a show with Eludra called Box Fort.
Mm-hmm.
And I also play a Dungeons and Dragons game online as well called +5 to Hit.
Yeah, that's a good show.
Yeah, I like it.
I like
also,
it too.
I believe I'm on. Am I on the most recent episode of Rolling Restart?
You are, yes.
Yeah, that was a good conversation. I recommend
It was.
checking that out. And then last but not least, I do another show. This is the one that I didn't copy John with. It's called D&D Discussions. I do that with Ryan Reeder, and we talk about a whole bunch of Dungeons and Dragons stuff, and running a game, playing in a game, and different perspectives on things. So check it out if you are interested in that sort of thing. This show, though, Azeroth Roundtable, which John and I are both on regularly and Ro semi-regularly, you can find us on Twitter. We are at AzerothRT. If you have any questions, comments, want to, give us password suggestions, you can email those to AzerothRoundtable@gmail.com. And, of course, all of our episodes are found on AzerothRoundtable.com, as well as on iTunes, TuneIn, Spotify, a bunch of different places. And, of course, don't forget, if you want to catch us live, follow us on Twitter. Find out when we're actually recording, which is generally Friday nights. Check it out.
Hi. John
Hi.
here at the end of the show.
Hi,
I was
John.
expecting more of a transition, but I never get one, so I don't really know why I was expecting it.
I was actually kind of curious as to why you were expecting one.
I don't know, just some sort of signifier. And now here's John with an important announcement.
Back to you,
or,
John.
Oh, okay.
Back
Okay,
to
hold on.
John, or...
Well, hold on. Okay. .com. Now, back to John with some very important information.
That's right. This show is made possible. See how natural that was? That was great. I just
That's
a nice
so natural.
key for me to just jump right in. This show is made possible by people who help us out over at Patreon. It's what allows us to keep doing what we do and helps us grow whenever that might be that we're able to actually do that.
We're 10 million strong and growing.
Not
No,
true.
that's Flintstones. Never mind.
Not any form of that was true. Not even in an exaggerated, like, let's add zeros. Anyway, thank you to our patrons, all of you. A special thank you to Aaron, Brandon O, Haster, Jesse O, Caleb M, Kilroy Tastic, and Taryn for being part of the Murloc Club and giving us a little special support every week. Every month. I said every week, but sure.
Well, I mean, technically,
Yeah, I guess.
I mean, technically every minute. I mean, they're supporting us.
Patreon.com/AzerothRT is the place to go to help out the show. We appreciate you. Thank you very much.
Ro, thanks again for joining us. Chat room, you guys have been fantastic. John, always a pleasure. Guys, I'm going to go get my Thrall signed. Until next time, be good to each other.
Ew.
And that's a show.
Hey!